Hey everyone, Tara Lynn here, and welcome to the Teal and Eucalyptus color palette dot along. I've been doing these lately because I think it's super fun just to experiment with a new palette, see how it turns out. So today I am using the Teal and Eucalyptus palette, which is up in the corner. And if you don't have the exact colors, you can absolutely just use what you have available. But the idea here is not necessarily to do exactly as I do, but just to set aside some time to play. Of course, you can follow along with me step by step and create the exact mandala I'm making, or you can change it up. So today I've got my background painted black. I'm using a 7-inch surface, and I put some marks on there with my Happy Dotting Company stencil, and this is a 16 arm stencil, and then I just added one more ring on there to guide me. The colors that I'm using today is Gray Sky, which is just a nice light gray. I've got Paradise Green, Eucalyptus Leaf, Shoreline, and Williamsburg Blue. And of course, like I said, you can substitute. You don't have to use the exact same colors. The idea here is just to have a play with something a little new and different. I've got all my mandala tools. Whenever I do these, I don't have a set design. It's just a way to kind of play and experiment. If you want to change the design, there are some different ways you can do that. Aside from changing the paint palette colors, you can change your background color. I'm using a 16 arm stencil. You could use a 12 arm stencil or a 10 arm stencil. Whatever you want to do is absolutely fine. And if you're joining me today, I would absolutely love it if you would throw a like on this video, and if you would follow my page. If you find value in dotting and what we're doing, go ahead and like my page, and that way you'll have access to everything I've got coming up. All right, so I'm just going to jump in and get started, and I'm going to use an 8mm tool, and I'm going to use the gray for my center. I'm going to get my 1mm tool. You can use a stylus, or if you've got an itty bitty dotting rod, you can use that as well. Let's see. Maybe 1.5. I'll use my 1.5. And then I'm going to use my Shoreline, which is my lighter blue. So this is 1.5. I'm going to add dots around the center. I'm going to add 16, one on each line. All right, 1.5mm in light blue. I created a ring around the center there. just bringing my guide marks in here. All right, so I added 16 dots on the lines. Now I'm going to add another ring, 16 dots in the spaces. Let's see. I used 1.5 last time. I'm going to use 2 millimeters this time. And I'm going to use my Williamsburg blue. And these are going to go in the spaces. All right, so that was 2 millimeters Williamsburg blue. I'm going to do 2.5 millimeters and Paradise Green. I'm going to create 2 more rings. So this one's going to go on the lines, 2.5 millimeters. Again, 16 dots. And then with my eucalyptus leaf, 3.5 millimeters, and these are going in the spaces. You could use a 3 if you don't have a 3.5. I might be pushing it with a 3.5. It might be kind of tight, but we will see. Yeah, 3.5 just fits. So you could do 3 if you're more comfortable with that, or 3.5. I recently got some of the Happy Dotting Company teardrop tools, so I'm going to use those, but you can absolutely, if you don't have teardrop tools available, you can totally just make a dot and drag it into a teardrop. But I am going to go ahead I'm going to use the 15, and I'm going to use my gray sky. And I'm going to create a teardrop on every line. We finished in the spaces, and so now I'm working on the lines. I'm going to start with every other and see how those look. And if I can fit in between, I might. Yeah, I think I'm going to go in between. I've really been digging filling up my patterns lately instead of skipping lines. I've really been using a lot of repetition and just going around and doing all 16 or even 32 spaces sometimes. The only thing I don't like about using these is I find it a little harder to visualize the placement, but yeah, like this one's touching a little bit. There we go. I'm going to get my 2.5mm stylus, and I'm going to use Shoreline, and I'm going to go ahead and pull swipes in between these teardrops. That was 2.5mm and Shoreline blue, and I swiped in between the teardrops. I'm going to get my 6mm tool. I'm going to continue with Shoreline. And then in the spaces in between my teardrops, I'm going to add a 6mm dot. In between those, I'm feeling like I need to fill in some of that space. So I'm going to get my 4mm Williamsburg blue, and I'm going to add a dot on every line. So it'll fill in the space in that ring. I'm going to go back to my 6 and Williamsburg blue. And then on the lines right next, or I'm sorry, Shoreline blue, on the lines next to that Williamsburg blue, I'm going to put a shoreline dot. So I'm going to go all the way around with those. Then I'm going to use my number 12 teardrop, which, let's see, I feel like that might be 6mm if you're making them. Yeah, that looks like it's a 6mm dot, but I'm going to use the teardrop, and I'm going to use my Paradise Green, and I'm going to add a teardrop in every space. Or I'm sorry, I said every space. On every line. I'm just going to fix the shape of a few of these. Actually, now that I'm finished, they're not bothering me quite as much. There were a couple that didn't really have a perfect point here. This looks much darker on camera than it does in person. It's really light. well, not light, but it's much lighter to the eye. But I'm kind of digging this palette. This is not one that I would normally use. That's why I love these color palette dot alongs, because it gives me the opportunity to try something I would not normally do. All right, I'm going to use the eucalyptus leaf. I'm going to use my teardrop tool, and I'm going to make teardrops, one on each side, with the eucalyptus leaf. And I'm using a number 10 teardrop, which this looks like 4 millimeters to me, maybe 4.5. 4.5 or 5 millimeters if you want to make a dot and drag it. I'm going to do both sides, but it's just easier for me to dot and turn the right side and then come back and dot and turn the left. Hopefully they fit. Probably should have checked that first. But I'm taking a risk today. It actually kind of looks cool all off to one side, to be honest. Makes it look a little swirly. You know, I think I might keep it off to one side. It's going to be really tight if I try to put it in on both sides. So I think I'm going to keep it kind of swirled like that. I'm going to add another one here in the middle, kind of following that pattern, and I'm going to use the Shoreline using the same tool. Oh my gosh, I really like that. It's very spirally. All right, I'm going to get my 2.5 millimeter stylus tool. And I'm going to use my gray sky. Down here I've got this dot. I'm going to add a swoop to the right on each of these. All right, I'm just going to extend my lines. So I've got these lines right here that I did not extend to the edges, and I'm going to add a ring. And so just to visually mark it, this is the line that I drew with my stencil. I'm just extending it. I think for this, I'm going to use my 5mm tool and my Williamsburg blue. And I'm going to add dots on every line, and then I'm sure I'm going to fill in that space as well. And I'm going to start on the line here. So all the way around with those, that'll give me 16. Then I'm going to do one in each space, right in the middle. And now I should be able to put one in each section here and fill in this ring. There are a couple that are kind of wobbly there. I might go back and fix those later. It's a lot easier to keep them straight when you're just working one after the other versus trying to evenly space them like I did, because then they kind of get jaggedy. All right, there's two here. Let's see if I can fix those. Actually, three that are kind of bothering me. All right, a little dot repair. There we go. Perfect. I've got some space inside this ring, so I'm going to go ahead. Let's see what fits well in there. 8. I'm going to do an 8mm dot in the gray. And I'm going to do that on every line in between the teardrop and that space there. If yours is a little closer together, a little tighter, you can always use a 6mm. I'm kind of pushing it with this 8, but it's working. So for not having any direction when I started, I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. These dot-alongs can be hit or miss because, you know, just like anything you create, sometimes you turn out with something you love, sometimes not so much. So I'm really pleased with how this one turned out. So this is the base of my design here. I'm going to go ahead and mute and dry this, and then I'm going to play with top dots. Add some white to my palette here, and I think what I'm going to do is wherever I've got light blue, I'm going to top dot with dark blue. Wherever I've got dark blue, I'm going to top dot with light blue. So I'm just going to kind of reverse it, and then where I've got gray, I'm going to use white. So here in the center, I'm going to add a 5mm white. And I'm just going to kind of reverse everything starting from the inside out. So I'm going to get my teeny tiniest dotting tool here. Ugh, already smudged. I go through so many of these Q-tips. I'm also trying to be careful because I'm aware that this is not all super dry yet. Oh, boy, I'm the queen of making a mess sometimes, I'll tell you what. After I go all the way around this ring, I'm going to be finished, and I just have a little cleanup because I've got a bit of splatter. But I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. If you decided to dot along with me, I would love to see what you created. I would love it if you would share. I've got a free group on Facebook called Dot Mandala Artists USA. It's free to join, and I would love if you would share in there, or you can always tag me on the socials at Terilyn Pugh Artist. And if you found value in what we did today and you want some more patterns, and maybe you enjoyed lives and you want to join something where you have several new designs that you can complete each month, check out the Kaleidoscope Mandala Club. I've got a webpage at kaleidoscopemandalaclub.com with all the information, and we work with fun color palettes every month, 3 new designs every month, plus we've got a bank of over 80 completed designs that you can follow along with step-by-step patterns and guides. So check that out, kaleidoscopemandalaclub.com. I will see you next time for the next color palette dot along. Can't wait to see what you